All right, what's happening? So today we're going to talk about major scales and harmony, and a little bit about intervals. So let's talk. Let's start with the definition of intervals, and that is the distance between two notes. Our guitar is tuned to fourths, except for a G and B string, which is tuned to a major third. We'll talk about all that in another lesson. We're going to talk today, like I said, about the major scale. We're going to start with A major. Since we have the open A string, we're going to use that to our advantage. A couple things about major scales. So when we build a major scale, there's a couple things we got to keep in mind. All letters of the musical alphabet are going to show up once and once only. We're never going to mix sharps and flats, and we're going to start and end on the same note. So, our letter names available to us are A, B, C, D, E, F, G. There's sharps and flats. We'll worry about that as we come across it. Let's look at the formula for a major scale. Our formula is 2.5 plus 3.5, simply stating that we have 2 whole steps followed by a half step, then 3 whole steps followed by a half step. So we'll do this with the A major scale on the A string. Just keep in mind, a whole step is skipping a fret, and a half step is right next to whatever note we're playing. So, the first movement is a whole step. So we start on our open A string, and we move up a whole step to B. Then we have another whole step up to C sharp. Then we need that half step, which is D. So move up a half step there to D. So we have whole A to B, whole B to C sharp, half C sharp to D. So that's our 2 and 1/2. Then we go start on the D string. We have 3.5 to go. So we go D, whole step up to E, whole step up to F sharp, whole step to G sharp. There's our 3 whole steps, and that should lead us a half step back home to our root of A. And it does. We end on that 12th fret of the open A string, which is A. Just an octave higher. So again, 2.5 plus 3.5. A, B, whole step. B, C sharp, whole step. C sharp, D, half step. D to E, whole step. E to F sharp, whole step. F sharp, G sharp, whole step. There's 3. Half step to our home of A. That's great. We can play it in a line. Let's do this. Let's do the same exact scale. Let's start moving it around the guitar a little bit. We're still just going to play in a line, linearly, but we're going to start on a different note of that A major scale. So again, I'm going to say this a few times through this just so we have it and, kind of get it in our memory of what an A major scale is. So, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. We're going to start it on our open E string. So that's our 5. We're going to give each note of the scale a numerical value as well. A is our 1, B is our 2, C sharp is our 3, D is 4, E is 5, F sharp is 6, G sharp is 7, and then we're back to our 1 of A. So we're going to start this on the open E. E, step to F sharp. Then we got a whole step up to G sharp. Half step to our root A. Whole step to our 2 of B. Whole step C sharp. Half step to D. Whole step to E. So that's the A major scale starting on the low E string. We do the same thing starting on the D string, which is our 4. So, important thing there. Our strings are tuned to perfect fourths. A to D is a fourth. That'll be coming back around a little bit later. So we're starting on the D string. Whole step to E, sharp 5. Whole step to F sharp. Whole step to G sharp. Half step to our home of A. Whole step to B. Whole step to C sharp. Half step to D. Same thing on the next string, but we can't start on the open G string because there's no G natural note in the scale. So we have to start on that first fret of the G string, which is G sharp, and we move a half step to our root of A. Whole step to B, whole step C sharp, whole step to D, whole step E, half step F sharp. I'm sorry, whole step to F sharp, whole step to G sharp, half step to our root of A. Same thing, next string. So we're starting on our 2 B. Whole step to C sharp. Half step to D. Whole step to E. Whole step F sharp. Whole step G sharp. Half step to A. Whole step to B. And the E, we already did. We did the low E string. The high E string is going to follow suit. So we have whole step F sharp, whole step G sharp, half step to A, whole step to B, whole step C sharp, half step to D, whole step to E. Okay, so we're playing everything in a line right now, and that's great. However, we're not always playing guitar in a line like that. So we got to figure out, how do we play in one space of the guitar? So now we got to start connecting, and this is where your interval's coming in. So knowing the distance from an A to a B, we know that's a whole step. So we're going to find A on the low E string. F sharp, G sharp, A. We know that that's our tuning note. It's the same as our open A string. So we can move a couple ways. We can just continue up the E string, but that's still just playing in a line. We want to start moving it across the adjacent strings. A whole step between strings, with the exception of the G and the B string. Again, those are tuned to a major third. Everything else is tuned to a perfect fourth. To get a whole step between these two strings, we're going to go up to the next string, so from the E string to the A string, and backwards 3 frets. That's B. This is a little bit easy because we can play the open A string and see that open E. See that B is a whole step higher than that. So then we go a whole step, C sharp, half step to D. Now we want a whole step from D. We already did that work where we know a whole step is to the adjacent string and backwards 3 frets. There's our E, whole step to F sharp. Now we can move two ways from here. We can move up a whole step to G sharp like that, or use that knowledge we've started to accumulate here and move to the next string and play G sharp and then A. We can continue down as well as long as we keep thinking of the scale. Now, we'll talk about cage theory in a different lesson. Right now, it's getting to know how these intervals start to work, not only on the same string, but between strings. We tend to get, especially as guitar players, we tend to get into patterns or shapes or boxes. And one way to break that pentatonic box idea is to think more of intervals and how they move from string to string. So now we're going to move up to the next position. We're going to play the same scale, and I'm only going to do these two positions in detail here. Experiment. Try to figure it out for yourself. Make mistakes. That's how we learn. That's how we get better. This is a guide to help you build your ear and build your knowledge on the fretboard by connecting octaves and different intervals. Alright, so we're going to go from A up a whole step to B. Now we don't want to slide up and play in the line. We're going to play on the adjacent string, a whole step to C sharp, D, whole step to E. Sorry, the dog just sneezed. A whole step to F sharp, which is going to be now on the D string. Whole step to G sharp, and to our root A. So all that work we just did of playing an A major scale, starting on any open string and moving it in a line down the neck, now we're playing it in one spot. The great thing is once we start to see how these are all working with one another, we can start to play them together as such. So if I start my scale here, I can move into that next position. I can keep it moving. Very basic idea of taking that linear pattern and moving it more horizontally on the guitar. It's all the same. We're all just taking intervals and placing them where we need them. Let's talk about the harmony within a major scale. Like I said, we're going to give everything a numerical value. So A is our 1, B is our 2, C sharp 3, D is our 4, E is 5, F sharp 6, G sharp 7, then we're back to 1 of A. The harmony is just our chords. Root, third, fifth, based off of each note of the scale. And how you can see that is if we draw out an A major scale, we just skip a note. So like for A, we start on A, we skip B, go to C sharp. That's our next note in the chord. Then we skip D and go to E. And that's our fifth. So we have root, third, fifth, A, C sharp, E. That works over every single one of these chords. Anytime you're trying to find out a triad, that's the way to do it. Now, it gets a little bit more complicated when you look at major and minor chords that aren't in a key. Right now, we're safe. We can draw out that A major scale. All those notes are going to fit. We don't have to alter anything. So, let's look at how we put that together here on the guitar itself. So, we're going to start on that 5th fret of the E string. E, we skip that B note and go to C sharp. We skip that D note and go to E. There's our A major triad. A, C sharp, E. We're going to do that same thing, but now starting on the B. B, skip that C sharp, go to D. Skip that E note, go to F sharp. That's a B minor chord. Chord triad, same thing. Triad is just the music theory term that we're using today. So now we're going to go to the third chord, which is C sharp minor. We skip that D note, go to E. Skip that F sharp and go to G sharp. That's my root third fifth of a C sharp minor triad. Go to the next chord, or next note in the scale, D. Skip the E note, go to F sharp. There's our major third. Skip the G sharp, go to A. There's my D major chord. D, F sharp, A. Do the same thing starting on E. E, skip that F sharp, go to G sharp. Skip the A note, go to B. And then we have our 5 chord, E major. Next chord, F sharp. Skip the G sharp, go to A. So that's going to be a minor chord. Skip the B, go to C sharp. There's our F sharp minor triad. Next chord is G sharp diminished. So I start on G sharp, skip that A note, go to B. Skip that C sharp note, go to D. And back to A. So in a major scale, and this applies to all major scales, we have our 1 chord as major, 2 chord as minor, 3 chord is minor, 4 chord is major, 5 chord is major, 6 is minor, 7's diminished. Now, why is it important that we know that? Well, that gives us the chords that safely work within a key diatonically. That's just a fancy word for meaning within the scale. So, these chords, A, B minor, C sharp minor, D major, E major, F sharp minor, G sharp diminished, and then A major, A major. Those are our chords that are available to us. So if you ever hear anyone go, oh, it's a 1-4-5 in the key of A, that means we're playing a D, because that's our 4, and an E, which is our 5 chord. So this is all part of the Nashville number system, which we'll get into greater detail later. All right. Well, that's it for this lesson. There are PDFs attached on how to build the major scales, how we see them on the fretboard, and how we find that harmony within the scale. And I'll include a little jam track in the link as well, that you can play these notes just as a major scale, feeling the rhythm, or you can try to jam along and solo over it using what you have been learning through the major scale. Thanks for tuning in.